The placement of Pluto in the third house of a natal chart is a profound indicator of a mind that functions like a high-powered microscope. In astrology, the third house governs the immediate environment, communication, siblings, and the way we process information. When Pluto, the planet of transformation, power, and the subconscious, resides here, the intellect is never satisfied with surface-level explanations. This is the signature of the detective mind, someone for whom every conversation is a search for hidden subtext and every piece of data is a puzzle piece in a larger, more mysterious whole. The intensity of the intellect. At its core, Pluto in the third house suggests that communication is a high-stakes game. You likely don't do small talk well. Even a casual chat about the weather can feel like an exercise in reading between the lines. There is an innate intensity to the way you speak and write. Your words have weight, often carrying a piercing quality that can either heal or wound with surgical precision. This placement often indicates a person who experienced an environment in early childhood where information was power. You may have learned early on that what wasn't said was just as important as what was. Consequently, you developed a keen ability to sense lies, hypocrisy, and unspoken tensions. This makes you an incredible researcher, investigator, or psychologist, but it can also lead to a degree of mental exhaustion, as your brain is constantly on, scanning for deeper meanings. Power struggles and siblings. The third house also rules our relationships with siblings and neighbors. With Pluto here, these dynamics are rarely simple. There may have been significant power struggles, intense rivalries, or even a sense of being overshadowed by a sibling during your formative years. Alternatively, a sibling may have gone through a Plutonian crisis, such as a deep loss or a total life transformation, that fundamentally altered your worldview. In some cases, the neighborhood or early school environment felt threatening or overly controlled, leading you to keep your thoughts to yourself as a survival mechanism. This creates a closet thinker, someone who possesses vast amounts of knowledge and profound insights but is hesitant to share them for fear of being controlled or judged. The evolution of the voice. One of the greatest challenges for those with Pluto in the third house is the fear of being found out or misunderstood. There is often a cycle of silence followed by an explosion of truth. You might withhold your opinions until they have fermented into something undeniable, at which point you deliver them with such force that it can overwhelm others. The evolutionary goal of this placement is to transform the way you use your voice. Initially, you might use information as a shield or a weapon. However, as you mature, you learn that your true power lies in intellectual honesty. You are meant to be a messenger of the truth, often speaking about taboo subjects or uncovering social realities that others are too polite or too afraid to mention. Perception as a tool for transformation. Your perception is your greatest asset. You see the world through a lens of death and rebirth. You understand that for new ideas to grow, old, stagnant beliefs must be dismantled. This makes you an excellent editor of life. You can look at a project, a relationship, or a social system and immediately spot the rot that needs to be cleared out. However, the shadow side of this placement is obsessive thinking or paranoia. Because you are so attuned to the darker side of human nature, you might struggle to trust simple gestures or straightforward statements. Learning to quiet the mind and realizing that not everything requires a deep dive investigation is a vital part of your journey. Ultimately, Pluto in the third house is about the sovereignty of the mind. You are here to master the art of persuasion and the depth of the human psyche. When you embrace the transformative power of your thoughts, you become a person who can change the world simply by describing it as it truly is. Your words aren't just sounds, they are catalysts for change. When Pluto transits the third house, the universe begins a slow, systemic overhaul of your mental hardware. This is not a fleeting influence. Because Pluto moves so slowly, this transit can last anywhere from 12 to 30 years depending on your latitude and the sign it is moving through. During this window, the way you perceive reality, process information, and interact with your immediate world undergoes a total death and rebirth cycle. The death of superficiality. The hallmark of this transit is a growing intolerance for the trivial. If you were once someone who enjoyed light-hearted gossip or surface-level social interactions, you may find yourself suddenly bored or even repulsed by them. Pluto demands depth. You will feel a compulsive need to get to the bottom of things, whether that means researching a niche subject until you are an expert or interrogating the motives of those around you. Mental patterns that no longer serve your evolution, such as self-sabotaging thoughts, outdated biases, or intellectual arrogance, will be brought to the surface to be purged. This can feel like a dark night of the mind, where you are forced to confront your own shadows and the ways in which your perceptions have been skewed by past traumas. Radical honesty and communication. During this transit, your words take on a new level of potency. You may find that when you speak, people listen with a different kind of intensity. This is a period where you can become a powerful public speaker, writer, or advocate. However, this power comes with a warning: Pluto can be destructive. You might find yourself scorching the earth in arguments or using your insight to manipulate others. The lesson here is to master the power of the tongue. You are learning that communication is not just about exchanging data, it is an energetic act. You may find yourself drawn to taboo subjects, psychology, the occult, forensic science, or investigative journalism, as your mind naturally gravitates toward the hidden side of life. Shifts in the immediate environment. The third house governs your neighborhood, both literally and figuratively. This transit often brings profound changes to your relationship with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. Long-buried family secrets may come to light, or a power struggle with a sibling may reach a breaking point, forcing a total restructuring of the relationship. In a physical sense, your daily commute or your local environment may become a source of stress or transformation. You might move to a place that challenges your perspective or find that your local community undergoes a radical demographic or structural shift. You are being pushed to realize that your bubble is not as secure as you thought it was. The reconstruction of the mind. As Pluto nears the end of its journey through your third house, the detective phase usually gives way to the architect phase. Having deconstructed your old ways of thinking, you begin to build a new intellectual framework based on sovereign truth. You emerge from this transit with a mind that is sharper, more resilient, and far more influential. You no longer just observe the world, you penetrate it. The new mind created by this transit is one that understands the psychological undercurrents of every interaction, allowing you to move through the world with a profound sense of psychological authority. You have learned that the greatest power one can possess is not the ability to control others, but the absolute mastery over one's own perception of reality. Subscribe, like, and share.